What is going on, YouTube? It's your boy Dorkatronprime here, currently with my own deck list for Dandevimon. So recently it's been kind of hard to get some deck profiles for you guys because it's been a kind of big 4 rounds, 5 rounds, and it usually finishes at the end of the store's hours. So they normally just don't have time to record the video. Unfortunately, there was a couple of deck profiles I really did want to get to you guys, like the green list, the blacklist. The blacklist is probably coming out tomorrow as well. There's a red yellow gallant one I wanted to get out to you guys. So let's just jump straight into the video. Thank you guys for watching. Thank you guys for your patience. So for the eggs, we're gonna have 1 Pagumon, 4 Demi-Meramons. This card is absolutely the soul of the deck. The Pagumon is just for that extra egg. Sometimes it gets more into the trash, which is what you want. But the Demi-Meramon always gives you more. It always makes up your plays. If you don't have the 7 in trash, or if you don't have the Dan in trash, it's the easiest way to get it in there. So now moving on to the rookies. So I play 16. It's a little wild. So it's the 2-drop Demimons, Demi-Devis. I want to see them all the time. The tournament promo Devimons at 4. This card is absolutely underrated for the mill potential. On top of that, it's a name, so we cannot forget about that. And I want to get the names in the trash as fast as possible. So spamming out the board sometimes helps a lot. Now the main Devimon that Demi-Devi want to be playing is the new promo. The new promo is absolutely crazy, but it's not the only way to win with this deck. I've had multiple games where I don't see it at all, and I still do as much as if I were to see it. The deck is a little bit of a rush deck, because you're always giving that pressure. It suffers a little bit to OTK, but I've added a couple cards to try to counter that. So for Demimons, you really want to see them, you have to play them at 4. I played 12 Demimon rookies, so that way I don't miss a single one. So let's moving on to more rookies. We have 2 Gazimon for the blue matchup and 2 Labramon. So these are the 4 extra rookies I played. Labramon is like a Devi-Meramon. When you play it, draw 1, discard 1, and then that card could be the difference in the game. Because you can discard another name, or you can discard another Dandevimon. It also helps with bricking. Then the Gazimon completely stopping the Hammer Sparks, the Blinding Rays, the Patamons. But yeah, it's another pressure card. It's really good. I normally don't play this out. I usually just discard it, and then later on in the future, I just night raid it out, or even Anubismon it out, just to have that extra board presence. So for the 4s, so this is a tech card I'm just playing for right now. SpamDevimon. I'm thinking about changing it to another Loosemon. I've talked to a couple people like Tessero, and they mentioned that Loosemon has been doing really good in their deck. I'm going to test this one out a little bit more, because these are the 2 card spots that I'm currently playing around with to make this deck even better. Because when I was playing around with some proxy Loosemons, and I just didn't see a reason to play it at that time, but maybe I just need to test that out a little bit more. But I thought this would help a little bit, because it's another Retaliator. It gives that green a little bit of a scare when they're going out for that Chaos spawn, so they're just like, oh crap, he has a SpamDevimon under his Lady Devi or his Dandevimon. He's just like, oh crap, so what do I do now? Just wait, but if they wait, they lose their potential to swing. Eventually I'm gonna Millenniumon, or I'm gonna do something crazy and then get rid of their board. So it's a really good card to increase pressure. Retaliation's a very busted mechanic with 2 1-drops Meramons, 4 Retaliation Devimons, and 4 Devimon blockers. So the Devimon blockers are the absolute soul of this deck for some reason. They do the most. They're the turbo, they're the the name, and on top of that, they're a blocker. The retaliation gives you that that scary moment where they're just like, oh crap, they went into Devimon. Now I just gotta watch when I suspend, or like, oh crap, they went into Devimon, my Digimon is destroyed. But yeah, this card creates a lot of pressure. This card is absolutely versatile. Then these two cards are just to try to increase the 1-drops, and then the retaliation. Overall, the retaliation I feel like would make this deck a lot safer, especially against green. With that OTK, it's just a little crazy. But yeah, this deck does turbo out to at least Lady Devi, so you can get that draw 3 discard 2. Most games I go into a little turbo, or I go in a little bit wide. So now we're going to be running 2 Chimeramons, 4 Lady Devimons. Lady Devimons are super underrated. Actually, nobody's ever said that. They're very, very good. They're one of the best ultimates I've seen in purple. Drawing that 3 cards, 1 for Digivolve, 2 off the effect, and then discarding 2 cards can make a whole difference in a game, getting you to 6 or to 7. And then the Chimera, on top of that, it has the inheritable. If you play a option card, you basically destroy level 3 Digimon. So that's by Luzmon, by Bushi, by Salamon. Absolutely wrecks that whole setup with yellow. Chimeramon over here, put him down to 2. I used to have him at 4. Just saw him way too much. You play him basically once a game. I've done some cool things, like I've popped the Millenniumon to get out a Dandevi to get up the Millenniumon, and then I have a Chimeramon for 7 costs, get a huge board. I've done and get rid of 1 thing on theirs. I've done a couple crazy things with Chimeramon overall. It's a really good card to keep pressure. I wouldn't play it more than 2, because you don't want to be hard playing that much in this meta. So Anubismon at 1. I know a lot of people like the Anubismon at 3 or 2. Trying to reduce the amount of bricks overall. Play a lot of options already, and I play a lot of I play 2 7s. So it's just like, oh, and especially with the Tamers too. So it's just like, do I focus on it or do I not? I mean, the whole point of this deck is not to turbo, but if the turbo is in your hand, just go for it. You're going to get the most in your trash that way as well. But yeah, like, I don't want a deck where it's going to be consistently bricking, looking for the turbo, and then, yeah, it's just a secondary option, so I made it at 1. It's really good. It brings back the Devimon, Devimon, and then, or the Gazimon, and then you create pressure from there. And it's a 3 cost. That's kind of great. It gives the rush. So Dandevi at 4, the big boy of the deck. Absolutely crazy. I've played this guy already like 90 times. I've played him more than any other mega in this game so far. And most of it's from the trash effect. I'm just really loving this deck. It's really fun. So yeah, there's also other things you could do. If you notice your opponent has short on hand, you can Deathclaw kill this, or you can play the Chimeramon to pop 2 cards in their hand, basically, and then, or you can create that board pressure with Wargeymon, getting him out with the retaliation, swing into security. Okay, yeah, you want to go ahead and swing into him, go Chaosmon, you're going to lose 2 cards in your hand. That's another thing you have to be worried about. But yeah, this card is absolutely crazy. You can do the Millenniumon over it. You can, you create so much pressure with this one card. It's just so good, so good. 2 Millenniumons. This card is self-explanatory. It's the boss. It's the boss of purple. It's the secret boss of purple. Okay. 2 Mats. 1 Trump Sword. 3 Deathclaws. Why I played 3 Deathclaws, I will explain now. And then 3 Night Raids. So I've noticed that the cards that make the most impact in the game are security cards that activate in security. So we took out the Hell's Gate. The Hell's Gate was a little bit too bricky. You hit it at security, didn't do much. And then you would just have to hard play it after they've already attacked or they already set up their board. It's a okay card, but compared to Trump Sword, it just does a lot, man. Like, you just pop another thing on the board. You don't even have to worry about paying the cost. So then there's the mat. I play it at 2 because it's really good to always be at 3 in this deck, because you're always starving your opponent. The way I play it is basically you always have a hand to leave your opponent at 1, and then you're always leaving your opponent with barely anything on their board. Yeah, so mat's really good at 2. Wouldn't run more than that. Night Raid. I've seen people cut this out completely, and I'm thinking about it, but at the same time, it does so much for this deck. It gives me another pressure by getting out the Dandevimon, and then it gives me another pressure by bringing out a Wargeymon. It also activates the Lady Devimon's effect to pop a rookie, getting another thing off the board. And then on security, brings out a freaking Devimon, and then they're just looking at you like, man, that made the whole game completely different. And it's happened so many times that Night Raid is just such a good card. Playing it for 2, getting the Devimon out, then Digivolving over for 1. It's just 3 costs, and you're always at it because of the mats. So I've done that so many times. Either I leave my opponent at 1 or I go to 0, and then I'm ready for my next Dandevi, and they're not ready for it. Another thing is Deathclaw. Deathclaw is an absolutely amazing card, considering that you pop out rookies like it's Christmas, basically. You pop out a Demi-Devi, you pop out a Wargeymon, you use Night Raid, and then you just Deathclaw it. You Deathclaw your stack with Demi-Devi after they attack, or you attack with your big guy, you use the Deathclaw to get rid of their blocker, and then you're just set for the rest of the game. Top of that, a lot of people who like to rush hit this in security, and it just saves games. The card's amazing. It does a lot for the deck, considering you're always destroying something on your side of the board. You don't have to wait for your opponent to do anything. You do it yourself. You're just like, hey, let me pop my Demi-Devi to kill your Demi-Devi with the under a Devimon, just to kill 1 blocker, and then watch how that whole game changes when it comes out of the trash. Millenniumon, you do something else. So much pressure in this deck. I absolutely love it. This is my all-time favorite deck so far. The only thing I'm still debating on is the Sabermon. I haven't tested out enough to actually tell you guys what to put instead of this. So my recommendations would be loose mons. If you wanted to, you can run another Anubis, or you can even run in another Deathclaw. But it's just an opinion. This card is just something I'm playing around with to try to see if I can stop green from being so aggressive, especially with the piercing. Fortunately, they still have Nidhogg, which absolutely wipes every single thing in this deck except ultimates and megas. But I can't really focus on that one thing, because there's multiple games where I've gotten Nidhogged like 8 or 9 times, and I'm exaggerating, but I've gotten Nidhogg like 2 to 3 times, and I still have came back, because that Nidhogg doesn't really do as much after it does its effect. Some people even do it a little too early, setting themselves up to just get attacked with the Devimon. And yeah, the deck is overall playing very well. My first turn or my second turn, I usually hit the 7-4 Dandevi. So yeah, I'm hitting the mark. The only thing is, again, play around with the Sabermons. I know the card doesn't sound that good, but if you put that under a Lady Devi, you put it under a Chimeramon, it might be worth it. Who knows? Anyways, thank you guys for watching. Just remember, we always brick, and it's by nature.